Hi, welcome to Willis and Spills, where I debunk common wills and estate myths over one cocktail at a time. The cocktail I'll be making today is called the sangria, and the myth is I'm a beneficiary, so the executor must do what I want. Now today, to help me debunk this myth, I've got Suzie Willis from Equity Trustees. Now people often appoint equity trustees as executors, and I know you've administered numerous estates. And we often get beneficiaries saying, well, I'm the beneficiary, the executor's got to do what I want them to do. Now, we both know that's not the case. So can you tell me, what is the executor's role?
Absolutely. Thanks, Linda. So the role of the executor is to administer the will and carry out the wishes of the deceased as it's been directed in the will or other testamentary document. And this involves several steps. It's basically tying up the loose financial ends of a person's life. It includes calling in the assets, bank accounts, shares, that kind of thing. Can sometimes be selling or transferring a property, paying out that person's debts, winding up any private companies that they might have. Sometimes we also have to deal with people's self-managed superannuation funds. So there can be a lot involved in that initial estate administration phase before we get to the distribution. And as to whether or not a person can direct us as to what to do, that depends on numerous kinds.
Yeah, so can beneficiaries tell executors what to do? And if they can, what circumstances would that occur?
Sure. It's not quite as simple as them being able to tell us what to do. So where there is unanimity between the beneficiaries as to what they might want to do in terms of perhaps distribution of chattels, personal items, the price they might want to fetch for a property, that very well may be then that they can approach the executor and say, we would like you to do X, and the executor, of course, can comply. But an executor and a trustee owes a fiduciary obligation to the beneficiaries, which means that we must act in their best interests. And sometimes there are competing interests, or there may be beneficiaries who can't actually provide consent. That might be people who are underage or under some sort of disability, which means that they can't manage their own financial affairs or give informed consent. And in those circumstances, an executor sometimes has to make decisions that might not be palatable for all of the beneficiaries, but it's about balancing the competing interests of those different beneficiaries, carrying out the wishes of the deceased, and ensuring that we're acting in the best interests of everybody.
So do the beneficiaries have to agree on the decisions executors make?
It would be really nice if that was the case, but unfortunately, no, it's not. And sometimes there will be circumstances where they simply won't agree. For example, again, I always come back to the sale of property. That's always a big one. Sometimes beneficiaries may have unrealistic expectations about what a property can fetch. So ultimately, the executor will need to make a decision about what price the property it ultimately sells for. The other big one that we see that's a problem or that causes problems is distribution of personal items. And the really important thing is to have a will that's drafted to empower the trustee to make some of those difficult decisions. Otherwise, what you find is if beneficiaries had to agree with everything that an executor was going to do, an estate might go on for years and years and years, because the way life works, not everyone is going to agree to everything at all times.
Yeah, that's right. So as you can see, beneficiaries do not get to tell an executor what to do. The executor's role is there to uphold the will maker's wishes. So if you do have beneficiaries, it might be a bit difficult. You might consider appointing a trustee company as equity trustees as your executors, and they can administer your estate smoothly. All right, now I'm going to try this sangria. It's healthy, I would say. It's got some fruit in it.
It looks very good.
Thanks, Suzie. Cheers.
Thanks, Linda. Cheers.
Cheers.